So earlier, Deb and I were having a conversation about the contradiction, and I wanted to make sure. So we were talking about an example that would help us see that, and you guys already know that not every contradiction is truth functional, right? So if I have the following argument, or sorry, rephrase. If I have the following premises, right? A is large, medium, or small, and I also know that A is small, I know from the standpoint of Tarski's world that A can't be either large or medium. So I can draw this inference. Oops. I can draw this inference by way of the concept of an analytical consequence. In other words, simply by analyzing the meanings of our predicates, we can say that once we know that A is small at line 2, it can't be large or medium. I check my step, yes, it's correct. But what happens if I try to say, and you'll remember what happens here, if I try to say that line 3 is a tautological consequence? Oh boy, I get an X mark, right? So you know and I know why 3 isn't a tautological consequence of 1 and 2. You also know, however, that 3 is a valid inference. It's a logically correct inference. So can I use Fitch to get to this conclusion, even though I can't do so exclusively by way of my truth definitions? And the answer is yes. So let me show you how we can make this work. We're still going to set up our disjunction elimination. And let's see, let's hope that my copy paste will work. By the way, no, it's not working. By the way, if you start hearing loud noises, it's because I think garbage collection's coming. So, all right. So we're setting up disjunction elimination.
You forgot the parentheses at the end of line 5.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to use a combination of our truth functional rules and our larger concept of validity anicon, right? We understand, I hope, that there's a difference between them in the sense that the tautcon move is a pretty narrow restrictive move. It's restricted to the truth definitions, right? But it doesn't mean that I cannot bring to bear valid inference rules that are, well, let me rephrase that. I shouldn't say valid inference rules, valid inferences that aren't truth functional rules. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm saying that I have a disjunction elimination. And if I want to make sure that I've set up my disjunction elimination correctly, I can check it, right? Oh, sorry, forgive me. Why didn't you guys correct me? I simply reiterated small a. You guys know a rule in this class, right? If I make a mistake and you don't correct me, it's your fault. You're supposed to know that. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. Woo! Right. So does it make sense to say that we've successfully set up our disjunction elimination? Now let's go ahead and work our inferences. Can A be small and large at the same time?
No.
No.
Correct. Now, big point to remember is this. The contradiction symbol is the same whether we're talking about an analytical contradiction or, as we were just talking about a little bit ago, a truth functional contradiction. What happens if I say that I am introducing a truth functional contradiction? I'll get an X. Not a valid application of the rule. But wait, it still is a contradiction. That's true, but it's an anicon contradiction. Is everybody okay?
Yes.
Okay. Number 5. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, wait.
What are you thinking?
Oh, okay. No, I was like, but then sometimes we use that for a consequence, like something, if we're trying to analyze a conclusion with a bunch of premises, and we use the same rule there. I'm like, how does it differentiate when we're trying to determine whether or not it's like a consequence of the premises or it is a contradiction? I guess it doesn't really matter. It's just, either way, it's just, it's like you're saying, like doing a truth table, but for the, either it takes in the Tarski's world rules or not. Yeah, okay. Anyways, it makes sense.
Okay, so it's important to point out, Lewis, that as you're thinking through this, and good for you to do that, to sort of talk through what you're thinking. Anicon in Fitch is just a mechanism. It's not an actual rule. So technically, when we have a rule, there's a specific name for it, like disjunction elimination or negation introduction. Anicon applies in a number of cases where we don't have a rule that's got a name, but we know that the inference is correct. And it's a mechanism that just says, hey, this is a correct inference. It's logically correct. We're just not specifying, right, a name because either we don't have a name or maybe we just aren't at the moment interested in giving it a name.
Right.
Okay, good for you. Now, oh, sorry, Deb, what are you thinking?
Is it okay to use anicon or tautcon?
Say the first part again. I interrupted you initially.
If it asks for a rule, like it has rule question mark.
Yeah.
Is it valid to use anicon or tautcon as your validation, or does it have to be from the rule sheet only?
Great question. So, 99 times out of 100, let's say in your textbook exercises, you'll be told that. You'll be told if you can make an inference for which there is no named rule, in which case you have to use either anicon or tautcon or, to a lesser extent, FOCon. we could, so let me go back really quickly, just to answer your question directly. We could say for each one of these, TautCon, TautCon, TautCon,
Can you move that proof over a little bit? I can't see the result.
right? Does that make sense or no?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and I'll go back and look at so it is the case that R is a tautological consequence of these. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's something I'm not looking at correctly, but I hope that what I've given you at least answers the question that you have. So you when you have a rule, right, you definitely want to use it because it's a way of being precise. When you can be precise, be precise. Logic wants a level of precision that we often kind of gloss over in our ordinary ways of speaking. Okay, so are we comfortable with the fact that 2 and 3 does yield a contradiction according to an analysis of the predicates? Now, even though we won't have time today to get into a more robust discussion of why it is that it's the case that from a contradiction anything follows, does it make sense that if we say that A is one of these 3 things, right, that if it's not the case that it is, or sorry, rephrase, if it's going to be small a, right, then it can't be the case that it's either large or medium. And we've demonstrated that by generating this contradiction. Right? So we eliminate our contradiction here. And then we move on to doing the same thing at line 7 as we did at line 4, right? A can't be both small and medium. Oops, sorry, it's an anicon. By the way, are you noticing that when you have these successive subproofs, you've got mirrors, right? One subproof mirrors its partner, if you will. How are we doing? So far, so good?
I have a question. In line 5, did you have to say not large A or medium A, or could you just say not large A?
Well, insofar as the, and this is Michael, yeah? Or is it Tyler?
Yeah, Michael.
Michael, okay, Mike. So insofar as the goal is A is neither large nor medium, so it's not the case, parentheses, large A, disjunction, medium A. Since that is the goal, you will assert that at the end of each one of your, as the conclusion of each one of your disjunction elimination sequences. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if A is small, it is not the case that it's large or medium. And the reason why we've got an asterisk here in the goal window is because I didn't write the goal. Okay, but what do you guys think? Do you see where we are? We've used now a combination of our truth functional rules and the broader concept of validity to get to our conclusion. I know you love it, right? You're speechless. Okay, so a couple things. It's just now 12:35. So let's wrap up with respect to today's meeting. We will keep practicing So be ready for that. Please let me know if you have questions, problems, confusions. I have regular office hours. I can also meet outside of class or outside of office hours. And then if you have any questions about where to find something on Canvas, let me know that as well. But I would like to have you start thinking about using your rule sheet, whether you use the textbook or the shorthand that I've given you here. Okay, so what we'll do on Thursday then is continue talking about our truth functional rules, and we'll continue talking about them by way of practice, but we'll also try to work at a little bit more robust understanding of why it is that it's the case that from a contradiction anything follows. Okay, so what do you think? How are we doing?
Good.
Good.
All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and close out our meeting, but I'll look forward to hearing from you if there's anything that you need, okay?
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.